Once a giant, always a giant. For me, it's only a giant.
What's going on YouTube, D546, and I was not able to get here to get out an initial 53-man roster reaction, but I think this is better anyway because now we have something that looks more like the actual roster because waivers have just gone through and everybody the Giants wanted to claim on waivers, pretty much they weren't denied any waivers. So that means that of all of the players that got waived in the NFL, the Giants got all the ones that they wanted. And in the NFL, the waiver system doesn't work like a draft. Like you have to take one and then it starts over. It's literally the first team can take as many players off waivers if they want. The second team, the third team, and the Giants, of course, were the third team. So they got all the players they wanted, and I'll get into those players that they got. But in the meantime, let's react to the initial 53. And of course, I'll kind of give commentary about who's, moved since this whole thing has been announced. So to start it off, Jackson Dart, Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston. No surprise there. Tommy Devito was the fourth quarterback. Tommy DeVito has since been claimed by the New England Patriots. So good luck to Tommy DeVito. He gave us some really entertaining games. A lot of people are mad again because he possibly cost us Jameis Winston. But again, it's like, what is he supposed to do? Go out there and tank the place, and he wouldn't even be in the league right now if he had played horribly. What was he supposed to go out there and do? So DeVito is now a Patriot. He's on their active roster. I think he's officially their quarterback 3. Devin Singletary, Cam Scatterboo, Tyrone Tracy are your running backs. Turbo Miller, for reasons that I talked about in my pre-53-man roster prediction video, he just doesn't have that ability to make people miss or to run people over or to do much of anything when he's in a one-on-one situation. And that is just difficult to do as a running back in the NFL. He was at the goal line. All he had to do was just get 1 yard to fall in the end zone. He couldn't do it. When one-on-one against a guy, could not get past him. You saw him in the flats a couple of times. If he couldn't just outrun the guy to the sideline, he could not get past guys. And that is a no-no for running backs. Trying to get through this pretty quickly so I can just give my overall perspective. Wide receivers, you got Jalen Hyatt, Malik Neighbors, Bo Collins, Wando Robinson, Darius Slayton, and Gunnar Olszewski. Now, Gunnar has just like about 20 minutes ago, Gunnar Olszewski has just been cut. Let's see. I just want to make sure I got this right. Gunnar Olszewski has been cut. Amir Smith-Marset is on the practice squad. Lil Jordan Humphrey is on the practice squad. That means they're technically still Giants now. So out of the receivers that I wanted back, Lil Jordan Humphrey is the guy I wanted back, and he's on the practice squad. Amir Smith-Marset is an elite returner, and maybe he finds himself out there again this season. So that is your wide receiver room. And again, Gunnar Olszewski has been cut, so this could mean that this is just some roster gymnastics because we did this with him 2 years ago where we cut him, made some roster moves, and then right before week 1, re-signed him. Or it just could be, for some reason they just delayed this and they just wanted to see who would make it through waivers and who wouldn't. And they're cutting Gunnar Olszewski and they're going to activate Amir Smith-Marset to the active roster. So you never know there, but most likely you're going to see Gunnar Olszewski back on the roster because he wouldn't make it in over Amir Smith-Marset just to not make it. So possible that Amir gets back, but looking like it's going to be Gunnar. Daniel Bellinger for your tight ends. Daniel Bellinger, Thomas Fidone, Theo Johnson, Chris Manhertz. No surprise there. There was a shot that Daniel Bellinger would get moved because he had that $3.5 million cap hit. All around tight end, catches everything. I'm glad he's back. I didn't think that they will bring him back because they haven't used him. So hopefully they actually use the guy. And he actually plays fullback for us. So let's see him continue to do that. Greg Dulcich, of course, was the man out, the man who had the best preseason out of all these tight ends. I think he's a good player. And, it is what it is there. We felt that we wanted those other players more. I mean, I can look at all of these players and come up with a valid reason for why they should be here over Dulcich. I just thought Dulcich had a really high ceiling as far as how we could use him. We could put him in the big slot. We could put him outside. He's fast. He knows how to run routes. He knows, where to be in the zone. So unfortunate. And Dulcich has since been signed to the Dolphins practice squad. He did clear waivers and he decided to go to the Dolphins. The Giants, of course, wanted him back, but he decided to go to the Dolphins because he thinks that's a better opportunity for him to play, which makes sense. You got 4 guys there, and that'd have been a tough sled to try to get playing time. You got 4 people ahead of you. So offensive line. Jermaine Illuminor, no surprise. James Hudson, no surprise. Marcus Bowe, no surprise. Evan Neal, no surprise. Even though I wanted him gone, I cut him on my 53, but I understand it. John Runyon Jr., Austin Slotman, I had him making my 53. A lot of people didn't. But, he's a backup center, and you want a backup center. You don't want to have to move Greg Van Roten from right guard to center and then have to put somebody else at right guard if one center gets hurt. So Austin Slotman makes perfect sense for me. JMS is back again. Solid starter, nothing wrong there. Aaron Stinney makes it. Another guy I had making it. Andrew Thomas and Greg Van Roten. So the only difference that I had between my 53 and their 53 is that I had Azudu on this offensive line instead of Evan Neal. And Evan Neal was going to make it. I pretty much knew that. But Azudu did kind of make the roster because he's on IR for the first 4 games. So I'd imagine when Azudu comes back, they'll probably either cut Stinney or Slotman. So let's keep an eye out for that. And now let's head over to defense. So you got Paulson Adebo, Deonte Banks, Corey Black, Cordell Flott, Art Green, Nick Jones, and Drew Phillips. Now, I didn't have Nick Jones on the roster. And I think other than that, my cornerback room was the same. So I kept one less corner. Nick Jones has shown ability to play some special teams. Corey Black is also here because of special teams. So, those guys are going to be some special teamers. And Nick Jones has a little bit of flexibility there. Safety, Dane Belton, Javon Holland, Tyler Newman. Now, the Giants did bring in a safety, and I want to pull up his name and make sure I'm getting this right. The Giants did bring in a safety. And give me 1 second while I'm going to filibuster my way until we see a safety. So while I'm looking for this, we did bring back Raheem Lane to the practice squad. So those who were wondering why Raheem Lane didn't make it or what happened with him, he's on the practice squad. And Bo Braid from the Ravens, he was waived by the Ravens and we claimed him, one of our couple claims that we made. So Bo Braid is a Giant now. He's on our active roster. So again, this initial 53 is never the final 53. And Bo Braid is who we decided to claim as far as safeties go. So he's going to be our 4th safety. Outside linebacker, Brian Burns, Abdul Carter, Kayvon Thibodeau. Now they have Chauncey Golson listed as a defensive lineman. So he's not an outside linebacker on this 53, but I had him in my outside linebacker spot. Now, who you don't see here, who I had, was Trace Ford. Trace Ford ended up going all the way through waivers. They did waive him, and he's back on the practice squad. So that's good news. Hopefully we can develop him this year, and maybe he's the guy. Maybe he does something for us next year, or maybe he's just another one of the guys who flashed in the preseason who does nothing, in his entire career. But wishing him the best of luck. Glad he's back on the practice squad. Inside linebacker, Chris Board, Demetrius Flannigan-Fowles, who's been hurt, Micah McFadden, Darius Moisow, and Bobby Okereke. So inside linebacker, no surprise there. I did not keep Demetrius Flannigan-Fowles because he's been hurt. He hasn't really shown much. And you have Chris Board there. So I'm not 100% sure if they're going to keep Chris Board and Flannigan-Fowles because both of those guys are special teamers. And as I'm looking down, I'm looking at my phone just to make sure I'm getting everything right here. And also they did waive Corey Black. So Corey Black is not going to have any issues getting to the practice squad. He's a special teamer. That's what he is. He's going to be on the practice squad. But yeah, Flannigan-Fowles, I would imagine that if they need to make any more moves, he's someone that they would target because they're both there for special teams. Maybe they both stay there though. Defensive line, Darius Alexander, no surprise. DJ Davidson, I did not have him on my final 53, but when you think about it, there's not really anybody else behind Dexter Lawrence that can play nose. So he has to make it. He did make some plays this preseason, so we'll see if he can continue to do that because I have not liked the way that he's played the last couple of years in the regular season. So hopefully this is the year that DJ Davidson is able to hold firm and be the backup nose and eat up space and just not collapse when Dex comes out of the game. Chauncey Golson, as I said, Dexter Lawrence, we all know that. Rakeem Nunez-Roches, he had to make it just because he's not that good, but he's the best out of what we have. As far as guys behind Dex and Roy Robertson Harris, and then of course the last guy is Roy Robertson Harris. Really excited for him this year. I think he's going to bring a lot of stability there beside Dex, and it's going to enable us to do a lot of fun things on the defensive line because we don't have to worry about it collapsing because of who's next to Dexter Lawrence. And then, of course, your specialists are Graham Gano, Jamie Gillen, and Casey Kreider. So that's your 53 as it stands. And I kind of gave my updates on what's happening as we went through everything. So that's your 53 for now. It could, of course, change again. We could be looking to bring in a receiver. That could very well happen after week 1 because contracts aren't guaranteed after week 1. So, you could look to bring in a Gabe Davis or an Odell Beckham after that week 1 game. Now let's look at some of the news that's come up today. Theo Johnson has not been out at practice. He hasn't been on the field since the second preseason game where he had that long catch. So Theo Johnson is looking like he's dealing with a nagging injury. Now he's got a little time before this preseason game, but this is again why we kept 4 tight ends. And you got to think that Daniel Bellinger is probably going to be your starter if Theo Johnson misses a game. And then Manhurts will be out there with them, and those will be your 2 tight ends. And I'm guessing Fedoni will probably rotate in and out. They'll probably give him a little bit of a taste. But this would have been a good time to have Greg Dulcich. Now, you can't keep 5 tight ends, and you would have had to either move on from Bellinger or Manhurts probably to keep him. But it's just frustrating that I just get to see a guy like Dulcich walk out of the door. I think he's just really talented. Yeah, and I'm seeing things from reporters that are saying that most likely Olszewski's going to be back as the returner. So that'll happen as I'm thinking. And then Devin Singletary, from what they've seen in practice, looks like he's going to be a second kick returner. So hopefully that doesn't happen because Devin Singletary isn't bringing anything back. I don't know why he would be doing that. But I'm just checking to see if I see any news. Andrew Thomas looks like he's good to go. He's back out there in practice. And let me just read you all the practice squad just so you have that whole list of names. So Dante Miller, Lil Jordan Humphrey, Amir Smith-Marset, Jake Kubas, Brian Hudson, offensive lineman, defensive lineman Elijah Chapman, who I didn't even touch on. He didn't make the roster, but we knew he'd clear waivers. He's 270-something pounds. He's not a guy that can stop the run. So he's only a 1-down guy, and you got Abdul Carter, you got Chauncey Golson that are coming from the 3-tech now. So it was a tough decision, but he ended up not making it. Jordan Riley, he's been a disappointment with his size. It's been a disappointment. Defensive lineman Elijah Garcia, offensive linebacker Trace Ford, outside linebacker Trace Ford, outside linebacker Timon Fox, the 2 preseason legends, D. Williams, the cornerback, Raheem Lane, the safety, and Jude McAtamney is the kicker that's on the practice squad. So there you go. 13 people. I think you get 16 people in full, maybe. But that's your practice squad as it looks right now. And you all let me know what you're thinking of the roster. I'm excited. I will probably be putting out some videos just on various topics as we go into the season. Joe Shane and Brian Day will talk to the media today. They praised Jackson Dart. They talked about how they felt about the roster. They liked some of the moves they make. They wish Tommy DeVito good luck. But you all let me know who got cut or waived that you really wanted to keep and who stayed that you didn't want to stay. I would say the guy who got cut that I wanted to keep is Greg Dulcich. Who stayed that I didn't want to stay is probably Evan Neal. That's me. But you all let me know down in the comments.